Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Best Version of You podcast. My name is Megan Huber.
And Shawn Huber here.
And if this is your first time joining us, I'm a life and business strategist, and I work with women entrepreneurs to help them scale their businesses to 6 and multiple 6 figures.
And I'm a high-performance transformational coach who's worked with all different types of people. The thing they have in common is stress, overwhelm, burnout, and they want to know how to get to the next level. So that's what I really love doing. And when we combine our talents together,
it's awesome.
Very awesome.
So today we have a really cool topic, something that Shawn and I always do when we bring you new information and conversations. We really like to bring you what is going on in our own lives and in our business and kind of like peel back the curtain and give you a bit of a behind the scenes of what's going on for us and how we handle things and how we move through things. We think it's really supportive for you guys. So today we're going to talk about how we can use what seems like a curveball or a setback in your life as a way for you to actually up level in your business. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, it did. So here's, Megan's not ready for the part I'm about to say. So I've done some meditation work, some breathing work to help me fly. It's not the actual flying that bothers me.
Like fly a plane, because I was thinking
fly in a plane. No, so it doesn't bother me to actually when I'm in the plane. It's getting there, relaxing, because a lot of people around me just, because they're all stressed out. So this time we got there early and I felt great. The 48 hours before, 24 hours, get on the plane. I'm like, good, this is awesome, this works.
So tell everybody like where we were flying to.
We were flying to the Cayman Islands, which is a direct flight from Tampa. So it's not that far. It's like an hour. Door to door, it's 2 hours. So it was a perfect opportunity to work on this. Now, this is what sometimes can happen to us. We go, oh, awesome, we did something great. That has nothing to do with other things that can also show up. So just because you're doing something well doesn't mean something off kilter, out of the blue, the curveball, which we're calling this episode, is going to hit.
Oh, that's a great name for this episode. The curveball.
Perfect. So we get into the Cayman Islands. Now, we also.
It was our first time to the Cayman Islands, too, which,
but
by the way, go visit it. It was awesome.
So we also made another choice that we were not getting up at 5 a.m. for the first time ever to get to an airplane and then be exhausted. So we left in the middle of the afternoon, around 3 o'clock. So that was great. Get there, and we're the last people to arrive out of our entire group, which is okay.
And we're running the group. So this is our highest level business mastermind.
Retreat.
It's called Rise to Legendary.
Exactly.
Just FYI, we have 4 or 5 spots open as of July 2019. We're filling 4 to 5 spots for that group this month. It's a year-long program. It is designed for entrepreneurs who desire to scale their business to multiple 6 and even into 7 figures. So
and you also want to be around a lot of like-minded people at the same time supporting you.
Yeah. So we were hosting, this program has 3 retreats throughout the year where we come together for 3 full in-person days where we are working on all things high performance and all things scaling your business to greater heights. And so this was one of those. It's our second retreat of 2019 with this group.
And again, the reason we picked the Cayman Islands too, we want to go somewhere that's interesting to check out. And at the same time, we also have a client who lives there. She helped us out greatly, which was a huge plus by, picking us up from the airport, getting us to in finding the retreat center. So if you guys want to know about that, Megan's going to put all that information in the notes after we're finished here. So it starts off, hey, let's go to dinner.
Great. This is the first night. We just arrived. We landed around 5 o'clock, Cayman Islands.
By the time we got through, it was about 6:30. So through customs and everything. So instead of going to so we dropped our stuff at the retreat center, came back, went to dinner. So we're in dinner, and I get a call from Megan's mom, which is kind of weird because
a text message, right?
Text message, because we're on airplane mode just because it's crazy expensive otherwise. So I go outside, messenger, and our daughter is with Megan's parents, and she's got her arm propped up. I'm like, okay, what happened? She fell. I'm like, what do you mean fell? So I look into my daughter's eyes because she never shows any pain really when she gets hurt unless it's extreme, and then we talk about it. So they're moving her arm around going, oh, she's fine. I'm like, And I looked at her and she goes, no, it hurts really bad. I said, take her to the emergency room immediately. So we're out of the country. This happened 2 hours before. I'm going, well, why wasn't she taken right away? Because they didn't want to jump to conclusions and make her feel rushed and then go sit in a waiting room if there was no reason. And I know intuitively there's something wrong because that's just my thing, and I can't really explain that.
Because we were on Cayman Island time.
Right, so it was an
They're
hour.
They're on the East Coast time, so it was
earlier.
about 10 o'clock, 10:30
9:30 our time.
p.m. their time.
Right.
When we were having the conversation.
So the injury happened around 7:30.
Yeah, so the other thing, so Shawn and I both walked out of the restaurants. We were out front, outside, when we were having these conversations on the phone.
Food just got delivered too.
And here was the other little curveball. We were like, oh my gosh, like, do we even have our health insurance card on us to give them that information?
I found it after about 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, it's like something like that comes up. Not only are you a parent and your child is now injured and definitely needs to get medical attention, but then you're thinking, okay, insurance card. We're like hunting down, like, do my parents have an insurance card? Do we have ours on it to get it to them? Phones aren't working the way we're used to. So there were multiple things going on all at one time there.
And again, there's other things that are underlying that, Megan took care of. Great. She went to the emergency room. So we're going to get back to that in a second. So we go, one of our retreatees, I guess that's what we call
one of the members of our program.
She comes out and goes, are you okay? And she sees that we're not, but at the same time, they're jumping to conclusions that we're going home or one of us is, and oh my God.
Well, one of them asked me, actually,
right.
We sat down and she goes, do you need to leave? Do you need to fly back and go home? And I think this is worth spending like an extra minute on. If you're listening to this, more than likely you are a business owner, perhaps, maybe not, but you probably have like some sort of position where you're in charge of people.
Right.
And in that moment, when you are coaches and trainers and facilitators of retreats, that's one of the things that we do. You are gearing up to show up at a certain level in a certain way, energetically, with your content, the way that you're holding space for everybody in the program, because we're thinking about all these people are flying. We have people flying from Korea, from the UK, from Ohio, from North Carolina. So they're all coming with a certain expectation that of what they want to get out of this. So
and we already saw our daughter, right? So in her arm, she wasn't bleeding. There was no emergency that's crazy. We just wanted it to be taken care of. So at that point, we realized that, hey, it's out of our hands. I'm not setting a bone. I'm not putting a cast if she has to get one. So we're going to be involved with our group. Now, emotionally, I didn't feel bad because I knew that our daughter, Brighton, she was cool with it. And when she's cool with it, I'm pretty much laid back. But if she showed any signs of not being comforted in such a way, that then we might have had a different conversation than we're giving you guys right now. But that wasn't the case. So we knew
she was going to be taken care of.
Right. She's taken care of, and we were cool with it, and we knew we would check back in.
Well, what was also like kind of interesting is this is our first experience as
out of the country
parents. Oh, I take that back. Well, it's the first time she's broken a bone.
Right.
But when she was really young, she knocked the tooth out.
Yep.
So it was kind of like the first like relatively large kind of like incident.
But it wasn't.
Occurred,
she fell off
but
the
not
swing.
really.
It wasn't that.
You're not
it's
there,
just
but
the way it hit.
I think the point we want to make is so many people would have allowed that to take them out of the game.
Right.
So many people would have flown back home. So many people would have been emotionally disheveled the whole time they're supposed to be running a retreat.
It didn't take you out of the game, but it does make you second guess.
Yeah.
Which is okay, because you have to decide at that point, is that a hesitation to throw everyone off? And then we got in and figured it out, and then we got back to our retreat center, and I fell right to sleep. You had issues with it.
So that was the first incident.
Right.
So there were others.
Okay.
Let's talk about those.
Okay. No, it's not an incident. So the next thing
it's just
is
like a curveball. It's the curveball.
It wasn't a curve.
People see this stuff as huge, and it's really not.
But here's the thing with a curveball. If you're constantly swinging and waiting for fastballs, all you know is with a curveball coming, you just sit back and you got to wait just a little longer and time it a little differently. You can still hit a home run off a curveball. A curveball is not going to necessarily strike you out, put you out. it's going to throw you off a bit, but you got to adjust. And that's why we're talking about this as a curveball. So the next event we go to is we have some things set up for them, and that is a boat trip out to an area they call the aquarium, and then we went from there to another area where it's a sandbar, and then from there to another area. So we had 3 areas planned. They had no idea where we were going. So we get on the boat. Now, do we ask if anyone gets seasick? No. Again, it's not that bouncy. Do we ask anyone who's ever snorkeled before? Guess what? No one has really. We've done it once when I lived in Florida before. I would snorkel all the time.
And we didn't ask anybody if they'd ever swam with stingrays.
And
we just thought we'd throw them in with the stingrays.
Well, we didn't throw them in. They were allowed to get in on their own. But this is what happens when everyone hit the water. Now, the water, when we went last time, was cold, so it took your breath away. But this time, the water is like bath water. And you get into the water. And Megan jumps in first because that's the type of leader Megan is. I'm the one that usually sits back to make sure everyone's comfortable, but give them a little nudge, not necessarily a physical nudge, but like, hey, walk them through it. They all start hitting the water, and at first panic sets in on everyone because they're not sure what's going to happen. But once they get the rhythm and breathing, they become fine. Well, the guides that are with us are jumping in the water, and they've got squid, right? So the squid, the fish are going nuts, and there's 2 wild stingrays there. Well, one decides to get on my back, which I'm like, what the heck? And it didn't bother me because these guys aren't going to put us in a situation that's going to be harmful. There was a barracuda swimming around earlier, but he jetted out because there's too much commotion. So everyone gets in the water, and it's amazing. The colors of these fish, the coral that's down there, the experience we're all having. And again, they've got a life vest if you need it to feel more comfortable. Breathing in and out of a tube is a little weird sometimes. Sometimes water can get in your mask. They had a rope lined out if you need to pull yourself in. So all precautions were taken. When people started coming out of the water to get back in the boat, then you started to hear, oh my God, I was so afraid, but that was the most amazing thing I've ever done. They were overcoming obstacles quickly. And the reality of it was all that built up tension and fear of not the knowing really was gone immediately. So then we go to the next location, which thank God we did this one first, because there are tons of boats parked around this area, and we're talking, and no joke, over 100 and some people on some of these boats. We had 8 on ours, which was great. You get to the sandbar, and what happens next? Megan, what are we doing at the sandbar?
Swimming with stingrays.
Well, what do you mean by swimming with stingrays?
Jumping in the water with stingrays.
Okay, you don't jump on a stingray. That's the interesting thing. Again, the guides come out, they bring food. Not only are we swimming with them, we are actually holding them. So the interesting thing about animals is they can feel energy from people or not. And again, these people have never felt stingrays. Guess where they all go? Remember that Steve Irwin guy who got pierced in the heart and died? Well, okay, quit going for the crazy, weird exception. That's not what really is going on here. So we have fun. You actually hold these stingrays. They're huge. And you feed them. And when you're relaxed, they relax. If you get tense, they freak out. Now, the funny part was one of our participants, why are they following me? I'm like, because you got the food bucket. They know what's in the bucket. So we took the bucket from her and they relaxed. That was another crazy experience. And we go to the last one, which is what?
Not a crazy experience. It was very sedate. We got to, it's a place called Starfish Point.
Yep.
And it's really calm water. It's like ankle deep. And there are starfish in the water. And you basically just kind of sit in the water around them and observe them and touch them.
So from all that, what we've done, we go back, everyone takes showers, we have lunch, and we start working. Next curveball, what was it?
Well, the one that I'm thinking of is, so the other thing that can sometimes occur when you are running retreats or you are out of the office. And basically when Shawn and I are running retreats with clients, I think we've run 8 retreats in the last year and a half. That pretty much means we are out of the office. So other clients, we're not like coaching other clients. We're not answering emails. We're not like posting actively on social media and answering people's comments. Basically, you can't get access to us and we're not responding to things that are going on because we're out of the office because we're running a retreat.
Right.
And you know, that doesn't mean just because we're out of the office and we're focused on a retreat, when you've got lots of other clients, your other clients are dealing with things that are coming up in their business. And so one of our clients, for the first time ever, there was someone who had taken one of her $297 programs, went through the whole entire program, waited until they got all the way to the end of the program, and decided that they were going to ask for a refund because they didn't get any results. So because it was our client's first time experiencing this, she kind of didn't know like what next step to take or what direction to go in. So she's not like freaking out, but she was not happy, and she's messaging us, and then you feel like you feel obligated to answer and kind of keep up with that. So you really do have to very much protect your energy. So that was something that came up. That wasn't a big one, but it was just something else where like we care so much about our clients. It's like, gosh, I want to like be here for her, and I want to be able to respond and like have a conversation with her and talk her through it. But it wasn't the time or place because we're running the retreat.
And again, when you are a facilitator of something, you have to realize that every person is not like you, in that we put precautions in place. Why do we have health insurance? When things happen like what happened to Brighton. Why do we take people on excursions? We want to break through things that they've never done before. Why do we have contracts with all of our clients? Because again, those are the things that protect everyone. They hold everyone to a certain standard. Without those, you're putting yourself and subjecting yourself to whatever rules that that person wants to apply to you, not what you're applying to them. So you're sometimes out of control of the situation. So because of that, these things happen. Now, remember, this is one group we're with, but we do have other groups we're working with too. They know we're on a retreat. So we go in after the entire day of being out on the water, we start doing work. So you got to make sure that everyone's on the same level or energy when you get started with something. Otherwise, you're going to have to deal with issues. So I was looking around, and I brought some things up that are uncomfortable a lot of times. And what a lot of people sometimes are used to is some people going hard on them because they're not doing something. I go hard on people because I wish they were included in being a part of something amazing. And we had 2 participants, again, that certain things came up. I get it. Life happens. Life happened to us. This is what we realize, that to get the most out of something where you're at, you have to participate. Now, if you're learning lessons outside of it, that's great. But again, that's not the intention usually you're setting up. Learning a lesson outside, you're usually thinking about doing something. So we work through that. Again, remember, we're on an island. We don't have great communication. Normally we pipe in, we use Facebook, what is it, Zoom?
We actually never.
We've never done that
We've
before.
never done that.
So this is the first time.
We don't actually always record.
Right.
If people can't attend, what we started doing is just recording it, and we can pipe it into the Facebook group so they can access it whenever they want, they can see it. But one of the things that we don't do at our retreats, because it is so intimate and our obligation is to always to the people who are there in the room, and to be energetically available and hold space and really teach and train the people in the room, you really have to be very conscious about what can distract you as a leader and as a facilitator. So one of the things that we don't do in our higher level programs with small groups is if you can't attend, it's recorded and you can watch it, but we're not like bringing you in virtually where you actually get to talk to us while we're there.
Right, and it's not like we were not open or open, we just didn't even think about that. So again, it's rules of engagement also, what you're doing. And again, written rules, not said rules, because you can get yourself in trouble sometimes. So you want to be very clear on what the engagement is with your entire group, if people are live or not live, and where they can answer questions. And again, sometimes whenever you're doing a Facebook Live, you'll say, hey, when I'm finished, I'll go back and answer questions. Again, you get to set the tone or the rules of engagement if you're the facilitator. So the first day goes great. What do we do the next day? Any other curveballs?
We did, I can't think of any. Are you thinking of any that were curveballs?
There were no curveballs at that time.
No.
I think everything went super well.
Yeah.
We worked out every day. Then we had a surprise that they weren't ready for, which is a private spin class. Now, I haven't done a spin class in 15 years, but at the same time, I do work out and I do a stair climber that'll kill you. But remember, we're in Florida and I'm in a gym, and that's controlled by air conditioning and big fans, and it's comfortable. And we show up to this private spin studio, which is amazing, but the door is wide open.
Well, and there's
Cayman
no
Islands.
AC. And Shawn and I live in Florida, and just to like
We're
give
used
you
to being
perspective,
hot.
it's 95 degrees today, and the heat index is 109.
And it's still not as hot
It
as
was 89, 88 degrees in the Cayman Islands, and it was hotter there than it is here.
So we start this spin class, which is, hey, I'm cool with it, up and down, cardio, but I wasn't ready for the heat. And so I get off the bike and they're all stretching. He's like, you okay? I'm like, man, I'm a little like lightheaded because it's hot. He goes, you diabetic? I'm like, no, I'm not diabetic. It's freaking hot in here. So once I started drinking a lot of water and trying to cool off, you recuperate. So again, even though, and he said to me, the spin instructor, he's a bike racer, he goes, man, a lot of guys from the US come down here and go for a ride and they think they're gung-ho, and in an hour in, they're passing out on the bike. I'm like, wonder why? Because it's so freaking humid and hot that even though you're used to a certain amount of exertion, heat can just make it so much more difficult. So that was a curveball for me, but I recuperated fairly easy. After we did that, we had a great session. Ran it a little bit more of, here's an example, let's do this, let's do that. We went out that evening, had a relaxing dinner, which was nice. I got to pick the place. There's a rib joint, right? Is that the word? That was that night, right? So we did that. And then the following day, which was interesting, which was our last day, did our workout in the morning, finished up with the work, and then didn't really do lunch, had some snacks, and basically we put it to a vote and everyone wanted to enjoy the property, which was cool. What does Megan want to do?
Keep teaching business. Come on.
Besides that, let's go out in the kayak and do some snorkeling. I'm like, oh, it's not going to be the same because the boat knows where to go. When we went, we're off. There's a reef I can see with a break, but there's a current where we're at. So we get out there and no joke, we paddled to the right. You jump out.
You stayed in the kayak. I wanted to snorkel.
I stayed in the kayak for a reason.
And it was rough out there. It was rough out there, and I don't know if it was my eyes or the water or the goggles, but it was not as clear as I thought it was going to be out there in the crystal blue water. And that I was not expecting. And I think because of that, and it was it was actually deeper than I thought it was going to be.
A lot deeper.
And then every so often there were like these huge like crevices or holes. And that's just creepy.
It's not creepy if you snorkel all the time.
Because it was
might be a monster coming
dark.
Out of it.
And there were waves, and I was in the water by myself. So I love snorkeling, but that I was just like, I think I'll hop back in the boat.
So here's the thing, hop back in the boat. It's a kayak, guys. So I got him like, Megan.
I didn't flip you.
Because I counterbalanced. You don't just hop in. She jumped on. I leaned all the way over to the opposite side to counterbalance. She gets in. And no joke, we're probably like quarter mile down the beach the other side. And you're like, oh, we're right there. I'm like, no. We drifted that far because you got current plus you're swimming. So now we got to paddle back. And then we see one of our participants. She's not moving one. Oh, she's not looking well. This is the thing. Even though we were exercising and we're working our brain, you forget sometimes how physically active you have to be to get yourself out of a situation. I think that's what really hit us. So we didn't realize how tired we were from all the other day's activities. So we get out and we just decide we're going to relax. And I wanted everyone to experience like local food. So
Are you still talking about curveballs?
Yeah, curveballs.
We've gotten off on a totally other topic.
They're coming. So we go and get this food. We come back and food's great. It's Megan's birthday coming up. So there's a curveball that got thrown to Megan. They had a cake and everything and got these goofy little things.
That wasn't a curveball. I asked for a cake.
Okay, but you didn't get all that. The difference is then we start talking about what everyone liked. And those are all, again, remember, curveballs don't have to be damaging. They're just outside of the norm, which that was because we were just having a great conversation. And people were talking about the things they really liked and the breakthroughs they had from even the snorkeling and how the spin class set all the energy and everyone equal, so there was no tension at all. But they really liked this much more. And then the other curveball they got is they want to, like we've tried to explain to people, you don't need to leave once the retreat's over, get a hotel and enjoy the Cayman Islands.
So everyone realized the night before they were all leaving that they wish they had booked their trip to stay an extra day or 2 days. And so then I think 3 or 4 of them started opening up their iPads and their laptops to look to see like if they could extend their stay, if they could book a hotel, if they could switch their flights around. Some of them did, some of them didn't.
And again, there's another reason you want to do that because you've taken in a lot of information, and if you can process that a day or two later without distraction, it's much better.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to go home and get what everyone else is doing, everything pulling you this way and that way, where you then can't sit down with your information only when you can find the free time? So we actually stayed 3 more days, which was great. We stayed at a hotel, and we picked the hotel because it was near a bunch of different restaurants, which was great. We got to snorkel there. We got to hang out. It was fun. And then another cool curveball came up that we went and got to meet an extraordinary gentleman who is doing some amazing things to the island. He grows all his produce.
I don't think I'd put that in the category of a curveball.
Okay, here's the curveball part. See, you miss these things sometimes. So we start talking, and Megan, hey, I used to show goats. So he's like, let's go check out my goats. He thought you raised them, but no. Then he says to me, oh, Annette said you can help me find goats. I'm like, oh boy, now I'm taking it. And guess what? We found them as goats, and I hooked them up with the right. Yeah, I did. Hooked them up with the right person. So that was a curveball, but it's a cool curveball because you're helping people. So here's what happens. We don't know all the time what's going to come up in our life. We have a decision to make on how we want to handle it. So how are you going to handle that curveball? You're just going to swing wildly at it and say, oh, it was a curveball, I couldn't hit it, and it threw me off completely, so forget it, I'm going to strike out, and I'll get back. Or are you going to sit back, wait, and then swing, keep your eye on that curveball, and then knock it out of the park?
So here's what we see, and this is why I kind of, Shawn and I always obviously talk about, the topics that we want to come on and share. And there were numerous things that were very unexpected, that it's not like Shawn and I sat down and like had a crystal ball and knew those things were going to happen. And when you are working with clients who are, expecting a certain level of care and attention when they're live in the room, you prepare yourself for that.
Yep.
And you kind of put yourself in a bit of a vacuum where that's what you're available for. But just because that's what you plan for doesn't mean that other things in your life, in all the other categories of your life, especially if you're married, especially if you have a kid, especially if you have animals at home, especially if you have other responsibilities, especially if you have other clients, like there's all these other variables and people who could be experiencing certain things, and then for whatever reason you have to be involved with that. And those just aren't things like, we didn't plan or know that our child was going to get injured and break an arm. We didn't know that certain things were going to be going on in the lives of our clients and their businesses that they want to help. Like, you just don't plan for all that. But Shawn and I have been doing this for many years in terms of like running this business and being in this world, like 8 years, a little bit longer than me. But one of the things that we hear really often from people, and it's one of the top questions I know I don't think you get this question as much, but I get this from a lot of women. It's like, how do you handle and move through situations that feel icky or that are sticky, especially when it's with clients or when it's with boundaries? Or how do you not let just life getting in the way derail you and cause you to become inconsistent? Because if you're on track and your desire and goal is to build a 6-figure, a multiple 6-figure, a 7-figure business, one of the pieces of gold for your success is going to be consistency. And one of the things that I see with people who've been in business for 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, 20 years, and they're still like, why am I not the 7-figure earner yet? Why am I not making the $50K a month yet? Why am I not making $500K a year? And when you let them describe what their habits and their behaviors and their routines and their focus has been over the course of the last few years, you find out that it's the simplest thing. They've just been inconsistent. And if you're constantly being emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually totally thrown off, and you're looking at things like it's a setback, and then you're totally taking your foot off the gas of your business.
You're doing it in everything in your life too.
Then you're doing that in every area of your life. And then you're literally, it's like you're starting your business all over again.
But again, here's the interesting thing about that. It's a conditioned response, because I'm going to grind and get back at it and go through it. And that's the energy in which they're using. And then they get some success. And instead of saying, oh, success, this is where I can really accelerate, they take their foot off the pedal, and then they start a downward spiral. And that downwardness is the second guessing. Oh, well, I thought it would be this way. Oh, it didn't work out that way. Oh, I'm so exhausted from that amazing event that I was at. Oh, I'm going to take a little time off. Oh, I should be exercising, but I need to recuperate. Oh, I just had that little meal. And boom, those little things start accumulating, and bam, they're like, how did I get here? I'm like, I'll tell you exactly how you got here. It's the same way you got there every time. How? You have no plan of action. You think just because it's positive, that's it. No, you got to be set. Here's the craziest thing about what Megan's saying, going through it. You all get about 3 feet in, then you panic for a bit, and then you don't realize you're halfway. So instead of going all the way through it to the other side, you backpedal to the beginning again, because you don't realize you're halfway through it already. Once you're halfway through, just keep going, because on the other side, you don't have to repeat this cycle anymore. You can be like, ooh, this was different this time. Like with my flying, it was different this time. It was different in the way we approached our clients and did things with them. It was all a little bit different, which made it all a little bit better, and everyone grew together. That's the thing, is if we allowed that whole entire thing with our daughter screwing up her arm, it would have taken one of us out, go home, because we felt guilty, because people would think, why is a parent not going to take care of their kid?
Well, also,
then it would have been bleh.
As a mom, that has the potential, if you let it,
Guilt.
to take you out of the game emotionally. So even though I stayed, I didn't even question. It wasn't even I didn't even cross my mind that I needed to leave physically and go. But what I did really notice is if I had let it go too far, it would have taken me out of the game emotionally.
Right.
And I would not have been present, and I would not have been in tune with the clients.
And
I wouldn't have been able to show up the way that I have the potential to show up.
Right.
Because it could have caused me to lose sleep if I was just thinking about it and worrying about it. So if I had sat there and doubted and worried and thought about it and told myself stories in my head over and over and over, just getting a lack of sleep.
Oh, they'll knock you
and
over.
not getting the 8 hours.
The water too.
And then having to show up the next day. And when you are coaching 8-10 hours a day, like, you're fully on. So I want to give you 4 really, really quick tips on how you can just change your perspective on how you are viewing and looking at curveballs, whatever you deem a curveball. I think we all have different examples of what a curveball is to our lives. So here are some ways that I've really, and Shawn has really taught me a lot of this, and just through experience over the years. We have really big goals, and for you guys, that 6-figure, that multiple 6-figure, that 7-figure, that multiple 7-figure CEO, it's not like she or he is outside of you somewhere.
No.
She or he is already inside of you, and you have to tap into those traits and those qualities that already exist inside of you first before you get to that place. Because I'm here to tell you, as you grow, as you have even more clients, and you've got hundreds of clients, as you have multiple programs that you're offering at one time, when you are launching programs, when you have more team that's working for you full time and you have to manage that team, when you've got 7 figures or 6 figures or whatever coming into your business, when you have more expenses, guess what? Just because you are making more money, that does not mean that all these problems are not going to pop up, because we all are here living life. As things get bigger like that, as your business expands, your problems are going to get bigger. So learn how to build your muscle and the endurance and the stamina and the emotional, physical and mental and spiritual maturity with these smaller problems that are literally a freaking blip on the map. Don't let those take you out of the game. Use them as an opportunity
immediately
to mature yourself, because if you can't handle the little problems that we just described, that we experience, that sometimes in the moment feel like the freaking mountain of a problem, if you can't handle that, why do you think 7 figures is going to be sitting in your bank account?
So we actually talked about, with Brighton breaking or fracturing her arm that night. We really did talk about it, because we wanted to say, okay, how could we handle this differently? What do we expect? What are the things that bothered us about it? What are the things that really worked? And again, remember, the next day when we spoke to her and Megan's mom, everything was great, which was awesome, because you're expecting sometimes there could be a little bit extra tension. And if you expect it, then it sometimes will show up. So we were hoping that it went really well, which it did.
I got to get to my tips.
I know, you're getting to your tips. Okay, by the way, we do recover the night after our retreat. We were in bed by 7:30 because we're party animals.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
so
go. Number 1.
Here are 4 tips on, basically all I want to do is shift your mindset and your perspective on how you're looking at curveballs and setbacks, so that you can actually use them as an opportunity to up level in your business. So rather than them taking you out of the game and causing you to take 10 steps backwards, let's use them to fuel us to move forward more swiftly and more quickly and with greater ease. So tip number 1 is that recognize that these curveballs that you're experiencing that we just described, they're an opportunity to learn a lesson. So just flip the switch on how you're viewing things, and all you have to do is pause long enough to ask yourself a better question. What's the lesson I meant to learn here? Right? Like, I mean, we don't need to go into a whole lot of examples here, but with Brighton's arm, one of the lessons,
don't talk. That's what she's saying.
One of the lessons, yes, we'll be here forever. One of the lessons I learned is make sure when Brighton is with anybody else other than us, they have a copy of our insurance card. Make sure we have a copy of our insurance card on us when we're traveling and we're not with her.
Right. And make sure the
lesson learned. Won't do that again.
Okay, next.
Number 2, recognize that the curveballs and the setbacks are showing you where you might need to up level a system, a procedure, a structure, or a process in your business.
To make it easier.
Yes. So so an example would be, oh gosh, we did forget to say this. We also had a client email us and ask if she could pause her payments from another program.
That didn't even affect me.
No, that doesn't affect me anymore because we've handled that so many times now. But in the past, like years ago, that takes people out of the game in business. They get one email from one client who wants to pause their payments,
right,
for whatever reason that they want to pause it. Usually what we've experienced is the person, like something's going on in their lives and like money is going to this other thing that was totally unexpected, and now they are trying to figure out funds. But
basically they're comfortable talking to you, so they're going to ask you first.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's a right or a wrong thing. It's how you want to handle those, and just be consistent because everyone should be treated the same.
So to my point about like, where is this showing you that you can put a system in place or a process in place? Back in the day when this would happen for me and Shawn, we would sit here and look at each other like, how do you want to handle this? What do you think we should do? What should we say? Who's going to handle it? What's the next thing we're going to do? And we never got like super disgruntled or been out of shape about it. Maybe we did like back in 2012, I don't know, like 2011 when we first got started with this business. But now it's like, okay, if we're sitting here asking ourselves these questions, this is an opportunity for us to put a system in place when someone says, I can't pay this month.
Okay.
What's the system we're going to put in place? What's the process we're going to follow? Because at some point, everybody always emails us, but you actually, as the business owner and the CEO, you don't want to be the one handling when people can't pay. You actually want to put in the beginning, yes. For a while, yes. Until you have a process in place, have someone else handle that in your business. But don't bring someone in your business as a team member and just expect them to figure it out. You need to put that system in place, execute the system until you've got a process in place, so then you can easily hand it over to somebody else.
So here's an interesting thing, real quick story. In my professional group, I have a lawyer in there who's an amazing gentleman. He is a wills and trust guy. His saying is, pay me now or pay me later. Because if you don't get a will, all the money goes to the state. You pay me $800, you get all your money. If not, you're probably paying $8,000. So that's the big thing. If you don't have the system, get ready for the consequences. If you do have the system, which takes a little work, but that's okay, you're not going to have to deal with consequences.
Yep. So point number 3 is recognize that these curveballs coming at you, it's also an opportunity for you to look at, is it time for me to have a certain team member come in, whether it's for my personal life or my business life, so that they can be handling these types of questions. That
they don't have to be 40 hours a week, right?
Oh, no. And even personally, so an example is, Shawn and I did this a while ago. When we travel, we've got 2 tortoises and we have 2 dogs. So when we travel for an extended period of time, we now have someone who stays in our house, who takes care of our dogs, who takes care of our cars.
And what else do we do this time?
At the airport,
took us to the airport.
Who picks us up at the airport. So
Andrew,
rather than you
awesome.
like running around doing all that stuff, when curveballs are coming up, like who's going to take care of the animals? Who's going to take me to the airport? It might be time for you to bring a certain team member on to handle certain things. So that's number 3. And then number 4 is it's an opportunity for you when you're experiencing new curveballs and new setbacks. It might be an opportunity for you to set new boundaries and have better communication around your expectations. So one of the things we really learned, and I didn't realize I personally did not realize I needed to communicate this in a certain way. But we already shared this where we had some members of our group, this program, not attend this retreat. And we always have people who don't attend our retreats. But there's always one or two people or more in your programs who aren't going to attend your retreats. And I didn't realize that I needed to, and now moving forward, I will be very clear that when we're running our retreats that are very intimate, small groups of people, that although we might be recording them and they're being piped into the Facebook group where that group has a private Facebook group so that anybody can access that at any time, but we're not going to have you come on and be able to speak or be on video as part of that, because that's just a decision that we've made because of the way in which we want to run our retreats, because I'm incredibly distracted by that energetically. And my obligation is always to the people in the room. And my obligation is to, if I choose, to have it recorded, and then people can have access to that anytime and go back to it. And but again, that is an opportunity for us to communicate that more clearly with groups in the future so that they have that understanding.
And if we were going to do something like that, the technology involved to do it correctly would be exuberant.
It's extraordinary.
I mean, so that's the thing. And you want people, because it's not just during the sessions, it's before. It's the after stuff. It's the community that they're building to support each other too. We're the facilitator. We also want them to really dive in and help each other out. And that's the big thing about, it's difficult when someone isn't physically there to feel what's going on. So that's why we talk to them afterwards. They get to watch the videos. They can ask us questions. It works out so much better that way. And again, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
what else you got?
I think that wraps it up.
Wraps it up.
Yeah, that wraps it up.
So here's the coolest thing about expectations or unexpected things happening. If it's not going your way, be okay with it. Take a deep breath and say, what can I do to make the most out of this situation? There are going to be times in your life where you're going to be knocked flat out. And that's when, if you built the right support team, people aren't going to feel awkward to reach down and help you up, because there are going to be those tragic events in life.
And they're never going to stop. That's the thing I want everybody to really understand, because I see that derail so many entrepreneurs.
It's going to happen.
Is they think that they're going to get to this place where they have made it. There is no place where you're going to get to this place where you've made it.
There's no board says you made it, trust me.
And problems stop, or that you're always making like crap tons of money every single day. There's always going to be ebbs and flows in your money. So there's always going to be life curveballs. There's always going to be things that you have not experienced before that you are now going to get the opportunity to experience. And that's really the mindset shift here. It's rather than looking at it like, oh my gosh, here we go again. This is just going to put me back like 10 steps. No, like put your big girl panties on and look, or big boy panties, boxers,
panties,
and look at it as this is an experience that I get to have. And it might not feel amazing right now, but guess what? I can change my perspective. I can grow from this. I can build a new muscle so that I can live the kind of life and build the caliber of business that I desire to build.
The biggest curveballs I've seen a lot of people that I've worked with is transition out of relationships, transition from what they were doing to being retired, or transitioning from one job to another. They think they have to be mad when they leave. I'm like, no, you leave as the best employee, because that energy transitioning is much easier. But even in those transitions, it's scary. Like the weirdest thing, you're going to transition from one job to another, and you start having back problems and stomach problems, and you're not eating right, and you can't sleep right. And you're wondering how that's affecting me. Why is this happening? Everything's connected. So this is the coolest and craziest thing is everything is going to transition. You can be proactive about it, or you can be reactive about it. We became proactive as we were reacting. We were reacting to a situation, and then we decided that's the proactive of what we're going to do with it, not just let it happen and unfold and listen to everyone's crazy opinions on what we should do. Listen to yourself. And if you want to ask for permission from other people to give their input, then you ask them. But if they're giving it, say, I got this. When I ask, then I can receive. But a lot of times, this is what happens with us as coaches too, is we want to help so many people. They have to give you the ability to help them first. So that's the thing, is give yourself permission to work through these areas and not feel that you are a victim. Be the victor in every situation you possibly can. Sometimes we need some downtime. I get it. But the reality of it is, work through it, make the most of it, learn your lesson, so then you can teach other people so they don't have to go through the same thing.
Yep.
And it's going to affect us the next time we travel too, because guess what? Insurance card, how to contact us, how we're available, who can talk to us, who can't, well, we're gone.
Yeah.
That's it. It's easy.
Yeah.
And it helped out a lot.
Totally easy.
Thanks, guys, for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we
learn some stuff from this.
We love that you're listening in. So we would also love for you to share this with any friends who are entrepreneurial, who are growing businesses, who are, CEOs.
Who definitely want to make a transition and need the support to do it correctly.
Yeah.
And like everyone who sat down with us, I thought I was getting one thing, but I got so much more.
Yeah. So share this episode out, and we love your feedback too. So you can leave us a review, leave us your comments on iTunes. We would so appreciate you so much. We will give you a shout out. I will take a screenshot and I will tag you on Insta stories.
She will.
So everybody can see it. So we would so appreciate that. And Shawn and I also have a really amazing Facebook group community. We do a lot of free training in here. It's an amazing group. It's an amazing community. It's where you also get not only receive a lot of extra value that we're giving and trainings. We do a training every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. But this is where we also talk about the programs that we're offering and how you can work with us, how you can work with Shawn and his high performance coaching, or be part of his group, or work with us on the business side where we help people scale to 6 and multiple 6 figures in their business. So definitely join that Facebook group. The name of the group is Structured Freedom for Entrepreneurs. We would absolutely love to have you in the conversation over there.
Yes, and there's a bunch of cool people in there, and they all work together too, because we know the more you can share with everyone, the more you're going to grow as a collective. Positivity, we all might have differences in life, but all I know is the one thing we all have in common, we all want to be happy, we all want to give back in some way, we all want to make an impact on this world in a positive way, because we can't take anything really with us. So on that note, guys, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Yep, we'll be back next week. Bye.